independent India.
Watching NewsX Explained, I'm Pratap Singh. As India gears up for the Union Budget of 2026, set to be tabled in Parliament on the 1st of February, it's worth looking back at where this entire journey began. Not just in terms of policy or politics, but in terms of sheer economic survival. The Union Budget is the single most important financial document of the government. It lays out how much the state earns, how much it spends, and what it chooses to prioritize. But what did this document look like when India was just born as a free nation? After nearly 200 years of colonial rule, after systematic economic drain, and at a time when resources were scarce and expectations were immense, India presented its first budget as an independent country on the 26th of November 1947. Just 3 months after freedom. The responsibility of this historic and immensely prideful task fell on R.K. Shanmukham Chetty, in fact, independent India's first finance minister, a respected Just 7.5 months from August 15, 1947 to March 31, 1948. The aim was not grand reform, but stability, continuity and control in a moment of national turmoil. The context could not have been more challenging. The country was grappling with the trauma of partition. Millions had been displaced, violence had ravaged entire regions, industry was disrupted, agriculture was strained, and the new government had to keep the state running while also rebuilding it. Shanmukham Chetty described his budget as a necessary stopgap. The projected revenue stood at 171.5 crore rupees, while expenditure was estimated at 197 crore rupees. This resulted in a fiscal deficit of 26 crore rupees. In today's terms, the number may seem small, but for a newly born nation with limited assets and huge obligations, it was a delicate balancing act. Defence emerged as the single largest expenditure. A staggering 47% of the total budget was allocated to defence, amounting to 92.74 crore rupees. This included halting demobilization, dividing troops between India and Pakistan, maintaining a standing army of around 2.6 lakh personnel, and withdrawing British troops from Indian soil. Another major priority was refugee help, relief and rehabilitation. The state had to provide housing, employment and basic services to millions who had lost everything. Food security was equally critical. Between 1944 and 1947, India imported 43.8 lakh tons of food grains at a cost exceeding 127 crore rupees. By September 1947 alone, an additional 10.62 lakh tons had to be imported, putting enormous pressure on foreign exchange reserves. A committee headed by Sir Purushottam Das Thakur Das recommended measures to achieve food self-sufficiency. These recommendations marked the early steps towards long-term agricultural planning that would later define India's development strategy. Inflation was another major concern. The Bombay Cost of Living Index rose sharply between 1945 and 1947. Supply shortages and pent-up wartime savings entering the market led to price pressures, making daily life harder for ordinary citizens. Industrial production was also under strain. Output declined across key sectors including cloth, steel, cement and coal. The economy was clearly in a transitional phase, struggling to move from colonial extraction to national development. This is how the revenue receipts of the country were divided at the time. Customs receipts were placed at 50.5 crores. Income tax was expected to yield 29.5 crores on account of EPT and 88.5 crore rupees on account of ordinary collections. The divisible pool of income tax was estimated to be 66 crore rupees and the provincial share 30 crore rupees. Revenue from the Posts and Telegraphs Department was expected to amount to 15.9 crore rupees. On its share of the accumulated profits in the past, the country expected 71 crores. As regards the contributions from railways, the budget did not expect anything in that year. Interestingly, the budget did not introduce major new taxes. This reflected the government's cautious and prudent approach. The aim was to avoid shocks and maintain public confidence at a time when the very idea of the Indian state was still taking root. In the expenditure side, apart from defence expenditure of 92 crores, the balance represented civil expenditure. 44.5 crores are accounted for by the expenditure on refugees and the subsidizing of imported food grains, leaving 60 crore rupees for normal expenditure. This includes 5 crore rupees for tax collection, obligatory expenditure of 221 crore rupees on payment of interest and pensions and provision for debt redemption, 2 crore rupees on planning and resettlement, and 12 crore rupees for expenditure on nation-building activities such as education, medical, public health, the running of scientific institutions and scientific surveys too, aviation, broadcasting, etc. Look at this pie chart. It shows how and where India spent its 197 crores. 47% was spent on defence, 11.4% was spent on subsidy on important food grains, 11.1% was spent on expenditure on refugees, 10.4% was spent on debt services, 10.3% was spent on civil administration. Public reaction was muted and measured. The Free Press Journal ran the headline, "Free India's first budget, no surprises." Shanmugam Shetty himself had said there would be no surprises, and that promise was kept. What also mattered most was that the budget successfully reassured the nation that India was not on the brink of bankruptcy. In those early days, that assurance was enough. The Hindu also, in fact, covered the budget. There are several lesser-known facts about this historic budget. India and Pakistan continued to share the same currency until 1948 September. Shanmugam Shetty resigned soon after, reportedly due to differences within the cabinet. The first full union budget of independent India was presented in 1948 by John Mathai. The 1949 to 50 budget was the first prepared for a united India that included all the princely states. Over time, the After a data leak scare, though, printing shifted to a government press on Minto Road and later to the basement of North Block. The Halwa ceremony marks the start of the printing process, after which officials are effectively sealed off to maintain confidentiality. During this period, even mobile phones are not allowed. Just like the first budget, February 1st was not always budget day. Until 2017, the budget was presented on the last working day of February. The date was advanced under the Modi government to allow quicker implementation of budgetary measures within the same financial year. From a modest interim statement aimed at survival to a massive economic roadmap shaping a $5 trillion aspiration. The Union budget has certainly come a long way, but its first edition, presented in a time of crisis, remains a powerful reminder of how India began its economic journey with caution, courage, as well as clarity.
Independent India's